Hey, what's up? Welcome to Creative Emotions. Listen, where you're going to get this motivation, this information, encouragement, transparency, empowerment, and you're going to get these good vibes. Period. Definitely have people in the building. I have Chef Wilson with me and Mr. Kennedy. And this is what we do. You can say, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up.
Hey, I want to start off by saying Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year!
I haven't seen you since last year.
I know.
How you been?
I'm good. How you doing?
Hey, Kennedy. Nice to meet you, Mr. Kennedy.
Nice to meet you, sir. Mr. Kennedy is my dad.
Mr. Kennedy.
Oh,
Kennedy?
Lord.
All right. No, happy New Year's to listening audience. I missed you.
Yes.
I miss you. So we about to have a family reunion today.
Yes. I just want to thank you guys so much for joining tonight. You can call in. This is a live show, 313-266-2811. Again, share this with your family and friends. We are going to talk about something that, is real prevalent. We're going into a new year, so we want to do different things. We're not going to, make this whole big spiel about resolutions and different things. You do whatever you want to do. To be honest, I feel like the new year is when nature comes. When spring comes and things bloom and things are new again. That is new to me. I think this is the time for us to really be, focusing on what it is we want to, what we want to do, and just getting things together. I always do that. Don't judge me, Miles. Okay. But yeah, just, getting things together. So, when you say that the new year, it is a new year, but we're talking about a different mindset. So today's show is Kill the Need to Be Right. And so, we're going to talk about what that looks like. And this is a show of, again, transparency. So we're going to be kicking it from our, different perspectives and a couple things that, we looked up that, that we're going to talk about. So I want to know how you guys feel about that. Another thing I want to plug real quick, every other Friday, I have my Poetry and Conversations. This one is Friday the 13th. It started at 8 p.m. It's at 21573 Grand River, and there is a $10 cover. It is bomb, okay? You hear me? Real good vibe. We kick it. We have conversation, and you have really dope poets from all over the city that just come and bless the mic. So if you want a date night, a girls' night, just a hanging night or whatever it is, come out and join and just check it out. And so, again, tonight's show, Kill the Need to Be Right. You want to improve your relationships, sleep more, stress less, just be happier, then you need to think about the compulsion when you want to just be right all the time, because that can damper, just that very thing. So let's be honest. We in a world that talks about what's right for them. What's right for them. So now it's all personalized, right? So how can I come into your world,
yes,
and tell you what's right for you? So when you think about it from that perspective, can we really be right?
No, you cannot.
Can you be right?
From that perspective, no.
And so
you just can't be right all the time.
All the time. Right. And you have some people that this is their driving force. They about to go in. I'm about to tell them about themselves. I'm about to, you get a little good information and it get down in your bones. You get a little confident. You just want to tell everybody. And so for me, I think that was religion. When I was at church and I learned new things, and then, the leadership that I was under, it was like pushing that anybody that do anything different from what we doing is wrong. And so now, when I look at people, that compassion is gone. That kindness is kind of sitting on the back shelf, because now I'm looking at you like, you're not doing what I've been taught to do, which is right. So you're wrong. And so we have this disposition, but it takes away from us just being, brothers and sisters. It take away from that. It becomes enemies. Like, what do you think about that?
I agree with you. Last year, I said a lot that I told a lot of people that your life only have to make sense to you. And you don't push your lifestyle on anyone else.
Yeah.
It can be about health, eating right.
Yeah.
Like you said, religion. It could be about finances.
Yeah.
And we should not push, right, our need to be right or for someone to follow our concept on life. And that's what happens. you break relationships there.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and then also one thing you forfeit with the need to be right is you forfeit learning.
That's true.
You do. You forfeit learning at that point.
Yeah.
The conversations that you have, you're not listening effectively. You know, you're only waiting for the opportunity for them to
respond.
pause. Yes.
So you could be like, come on.
So at that point,
I'm ready.
you're learning nothing. You're
Yeah.
learning. So to me, you forfeit the opportunity to learn when you always have to be right.
So with something like that, it seems to me that's a debate. I guess it's to the point of being a debate.
Yeah.
And so it's not about being right or wrong. It's a win at that point. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about being right and being in your world and your perspective, if you look at it from that way, was you're trying to get better for yourself, you can only do what's right for yourself. And who am I to come into your space and to tell you what's right or wrong?
That's true. That is true. And that's what we're talking about tonight. If you are just joining, we are talking about killing the need to be right because it is not effective. And we all walk around, again, you brought up a very valid point. We're arguing to be valid. Listen to me. No, this is what I'm saying. This is how I'm saying it. To be valid. Like, what are we doing here? Because you have people who know a little bit more about food, know a little bit more about working out, know a little bit more about certain things. So if I come to you like, you're supposed to know this and this is how it's supposed to be done or it's wrong, that's where we're missing it. And we're missing the connection with people. I think that's the main thing. A lot of people think yelling, it'll get you heard. And that doesn't even make your point valid. Again, we're arguing to make something valid. That still doesn't do that. So we have to be mindful of the conversations we have. And what is your goal in having this conversation? What do you plan on getting out of a conversation that may come across like, heated in a way?
And I agree. And so just thinking about this, when I find a person now, since we've discussed this today a little bit, the need to be right, sometimes they're covering up other areas where they need growth. So they're just going to highlight the areas in which they feel confidence in, right? So
Yeah, that's true.
Right. When you need to be right about something. And you often will try to control the conversation because you don't want to take it into the area where you know little about or you need growth. So that need to be right turns into that spirit of, excellence. I have to look perfect. Right. So if they go a little bit to the left, they may expose me a little bit, right? So you will find when you're in a conversation when someone needs to be right, like Q said, the volume raises, yelling, right? Because that's fear. That is fear.
Yeah, at that point.
At that point, that's fear. That's that part of need to be right. That's the fear part.
It's like adults having tantrums. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to me. And if they don't, like, how is this affecting your life? This is a real question. Like, I want you to ask yourself, are you fighting for the need to be right? Is this something that, that you're dealing with? I am going to talk about a few things that you can look at to just not compare, but just to take inventory of your own life. Because, at some point we have to have our own accountability. So accept that our differences is what make the world go around. I always say that, in the beginning of Poetry and Conversations, I say, this is a safe space and this is a place where, we agree to disagree and it's okay. You don't have to agree with me. If you don't agree with me, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to look at you any type of way. If you have a different opinion, it's okay. But we all need to get to this place where we're just accepting people for, who and what they are and what they know.
That's right. So I wanted to say from this, I was thinking earlier today, the need to be right is like the need to be heard. So like you said, it's a validation. So when you're trying to be right, it's like you're trying to be heard for some reason, whatever the case may be, I don't know whatever it is. And I never thought about that when you have a conversation and you keep the conversation. I guess you dominate the conversation.
Yeah,
that's what you do. So you get because at that point, like I said, it's a debate. You're not trying to go in and you're trying to learn. You have to kind of differentiate between conversation, which if you're a conversation, you're trying to learn something.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, so like what's the purpose?
Right. And that's why I like to think, what is the purpose of the conversation? You have to know where you're going with it. Because if you're just having just a run-of-the-mill conversation and it elevates to the point where someone's going to be, their feelings going to be hurt.
Offended.
Is it worth the relationship?
Yeah.
You have to know what's valued.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Prioritize kindness and compassion over being right. Just prioritize that. Just think, like, is this really worth my energy or losing possibly this person? Even when you're talking about, from a spiritual aspect. Mm-hmm. Is it worth losing this person that may say, I don't believe in God, but then you got your experience with God, and so you like, no, because you won't know, and this and that, and you coming off, you passionate, and it's something good, but you can potentially push that person away or run them away from, the very thing that you want them to come to. Mm-hmm. So just think about that, like kindness and compassion over the need to be right.
Absolutely. And just listening to you, Q and Kennedy, if we just change the energy of this thing and change it to where you're sharing, right? You just want to share the information. Yeah. The energy is different from when you want to share and then it need to be right. Mm-hmm. It takes that, when you need to be right, people are always not so kind, right? Yeah. And usually need to be right, you mix in there a little disrespectful, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
It can go left.
It can go left. So if we just change this energy to sharing,
you can look for an opportunity to get a different perspective.
Yes, you can. The energy is totally different. So people, let's change this energy into sharing. And I'm probably getting a little ahead in what something we want to share later on in the show. But the energy for sharing is much more pleasant than the energy for the need to be right.
Yeah.
Right? The need to be right is most people have a fear of failure.
Yeah, for real.
They have a fear of failure, right? So they want to kind of get ahead of things, right? So maybe I'll look pretty good, right? The fear of disappointment, right? Mm-hmm. Throw a little bit in there also. And I want you guys to, write some of these things down or go back and listen to the tips that we're giving this evening, because you can share these things. You may see some of these personality traits in your children, right? Or your husband and your wife. Right? And it's not to point them out to upset a situation, but to kind of diffuse it.
Yeah.
And kind of know these tips that we're giving, where it's coming from.
Because your young adults are about to be grown adults.
Yes,
they're going to be unleashed on people. And if they, dominate, we'll just have this thing just recycling over and over and over. But how many relationships have been torn apart from one person that just always wanted to be right? Mm. I can say I probably was like that. In my marriage, when I think about it, I know I was right. But just because you're right, do you have to always be right? Is it always an argument? Is it always, I'm gonna tear you down to the end so you get my point? Is that helpful? It's not. And that's why I encourage women, because I know our mouths can be very sharp.
Yes. It will cut you. Yes.
Oh, now y'all wake up.
Yes. It can be real rattly like some 10-year-old gym shoes.
Okay.
Real raggedy.
But can I say this, though? So when you say need to be right, and the brother down here, Chef, said that, you don't learn as much when you're always right. Because when you're always talking, it's like you only know what you know. But only until you're able to listen to someone, even if you don't think they know as much as you, if you're able just to listen to hear them out, you will learn something.
Definitely.
You can always learn. So you have to wonder, so you have to decipher between yourself, am I the person who wants to actually learn something, or am I the person who just wants to cover up a bunch of insecurity? Because that's what it sounds like to me. That's what it is.
Baby. Yes. Yeah, you can give them some on that. You can give them some. Please. Thank you.
All right,
but you have to be self-aware of but that takes a self-check.
Yes.
And that's even myself being said, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a person that has to be right, but I'm trying to decipher between, is it necessary? What do I get to gain from this?
That's good.
It just, because it can actually take away from the good you can do, because if you're always right, they ain't like, oh, here he go again. Right? Because they automatically tune you out. But if you always exchanging information, they're learning something, and also you may be learning something.
That's
Absolutely.
true. Exchanging information.
Exchanging information.
That part is real good. Exchanging. It throws compromising and the agreeing to disagree. It just throw that out the window because as simple as that is, I'm sharing things, guys, that I literally have been through, and we're going to continue to evolve. None of us, I don't think, will arrive. This will always have to be something that we chip away from, we learn from, we come back to the drawing board. And so for me, I notice you can tell by a person's body language when you are, just a little bit too harsh, or, when just your approach or your demeanor is just too much. And so I had to learn that, even though it was coming from a good place and you can be very passionate, I learned that calm down, tone it down, everything don't need to be said, listen, and that's it. And just say, okay, oh, that's what's up. That's my new one. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, that's what's up. While I'm smiling.
My new one?
What is it?
Okay.
I guess it depends on how you do it, though.
Yeah, I'll do it like this.
I okay people to death, but how you do
They
that
don't-
okay, though?
I'll be like, okay. Just like that.
But see, that looked like I got something for you.
Yeah, that's how I meant it. And you're talking too much. You're doing too much. So if I give you that
that's
okay
funny.
with the little nod, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't do it. Hey, that's what you do to your kids. Like, okay.
And
That's
some
what we
people
do
be-
it.
Some people be acting like the children. You got to give it to them,
Wow. But it brings different spirits when you think about being defensive. You are silly. Okay. Okay.
It breeds different spirits, and I'm glad you said that. 'Cause
Defensive.
Defensive. So
Prideful.
walk into
Egotistical.
the blame game.
Yeah.
When you need to be right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're pointing out faults in someone else because you want to be right. So now you go to blame thing, right? That victim mindset, no personal accountability, right? And it's okay. It's okay. I laugh at myself all the time, and I will. I've learned a lot over the last couple years.
I'm glad.
And
That's growth.
That's
growth.
good.
That's
I'm
growth.
really being serious.
That's growth.
I'm so happy.
that was almost like my okay.
No, I'm serious.
You're wrong,
like,
you're wrong.
for real.
I know, but so
The point is to learn no matter
It's-
what we go through.
that is it. That's
The
why we're on
point
this
is
earth.
to learn.
That's
If it's
why we're on
good
this
or
earth.
bad in your life, if you learn something from it, you winning.
Yes,
That's the
it.
bottom line.
That's it.
I think we miss it because we look at the bad things all the time, but look at those bad things as victory.
victory.
As long as you learn. If you haven't learned anything, you're going to continue to cycle over and over and over. Man, it was some stuff that I just kept doing, thinking I'm right, but I was dead wrong, just dead wrong. But I had to learn, though. Like, you have to learn.
Wow.
Even with that, if people are proved wrong, it's almost like they feel lessened or defeated or humiliated. That goes back to that prideful spirit. Like, why do you feel that way? Why you feel like if somebody else has a different opinion, or if you speaking something that you just heard on YouTube, but you haven't even done your doggone research, you just going off of something you just heard, and somebody like, no, it's not that. Now you getting mad. Like, where is that coming from?
I would agree. My thing was, since you shared yours, and I just thought about it, I've always had this spirit where I had to rescue someone, right? And I had to be right about it. Right in my mind, I kind of convinced myself they need this. I have to do this. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Wow.
And it always cost me. But my need to be right on rescuing people cost me in the long run. It cost me in the long run big time. So you have to be very careful with the need to be right.
Be right, like in whose mind, whose eyes?
Absolutely.
Yours?
Because
Perspective.
in your perspective, because sometimes it can really cost you.
Right.
It can cost you a friendship, right? Or it can just cost you financially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but when you think about, I mean, just sometimes it can mess with a person's worldview. Like when you messing with people's worldviews and what has been embedded in them from however long, and you coming and trying to change that and wanting to be right with that, that's like a fight. It's gonna be a fight because that's heavy. A person's worldview, how they see their life, their beliefs, you know, their foundation, like that's a fight. That's a fight to the death. And then now that's friction, really for no reason. So we really got to go back to the drawing board. And when we have conversations with people, why are we having this conversation? What are we getting out of this conversation? What are we trying to get out of this conversation? Like you were saying, like you got to see what's the purpose. Is it to learn? Is it to bring information? Did they ask for the information? So that's where I am. Now, I'm not just going and just spilling everything in all the time. Because I know, you know, you got gems. You're valuable. When you know that you're valuable, it's like, okay, I don't have to do that. So now, if it come to me, I'm all open for it. I'm ready. But I don't just like overdo it or volunteer information. I can hear people talking real good, and I may have something for them, and I don't say nothing. And they be like, Q. I'm like, nope.
Not this time.
Nope, go ahead. Y'all got it. Like I learned.
So I had two questions, but I have a question for both of you. Now, do you think that some of these people feel like they're not trying to be right, but they're just trying to better your life by giving you this information?
And so that's a determining factor. That's an individual thing, though. You know, like we really can't tell. I can't look at you and tell your intentions. I can't look at you and tell your intentions. So we can speak from ourselves. I know anytime that I give information, it's because I want the betterment of the person that I'm talking to. That's for me.
Okay, because I remember conversations I had with people and they had a need to be right. Somewhere along there, they're like, I'm just trying to help you. You know, I'm like, well, hold on. You're getting a little excited there.
It could be the delivery.
You ever
been
in a conversation like that with somebody? I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah.
Get a little excited?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that could be, I don't know. Is that the need to be right? Or is that like...
Well, I guess it would depend where it's coming from, and you really don't know, because that can be used as a defense mechanism. I mean, I was thinking during this conversation, we live in a society where it's a winner and loser society, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we live where we're sharing and trying to have harmony. It's like there's winners and there's losers. So when I'm trying to be right and I'm defending this point of view, I'm just trying to be the winner. Like you said, you haven't really done your research or things of that nature. You're just trying to win the issue. You know, it's not really just trying to better someone and things of that nature. So we have to wonder where we're coming from. So when you say, well, I'm just trying to help you, a lot of times people use it as a defense mechanism. If they feel like they're losing, therefore they go to, it's kind of like a play of a card.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it also can be if they're really trying to help you. So, but I understand what you're saying is when you say you can hear a situation and you just have to pick and choose where to give your information, things of that nature. Because if you spread yourself all out so much and so thin, it'll wear you out.
Definitely.
First and foremost. Right?
Definitely.
So you have to be able to take care of yourself so you can give out when the back, because you know when your time comes.
Yeah.
There is something that tells you this is your time.
To get on in there?
Right, to get on it. You'll know when your time comes, because it's something that just happened, and there's a spirit, the Holy Spirit will speak to you. You'll know if you're in tune. Or
I
if
agree.
you're not in tune with the Holy Spirit, there's something inside of you that little angel on your shoulder, whatever it is, with the case, that's going to say, and you're going to know when to act. You know what I mean? But when we talk about the need to be right and things of nature, I can say I've been a person that felt not the need to be right, but like it's just the right thing. But what I'm learning, like you said, is it worth the relationship, or breaking up the relationship and things of that nature? Be right about trivial, small things that will not change anything. It's just a debate, just to be a debate.
Yeah.
It won't change or help your life or anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you said, the need to be right, to be the winner and to be the loser. And that's the society that we, unfortunately, we live in, that we have to be conscious of to break our mindset of that.
That's true. That's real good.
And
That's just like being in school.
Absolutely.
You know, we got right and wrong answers. Sometimes it'll be a little gray area, you know, but for the most part, we've been taught this mentality. You got right and wrong.
Absolutely.
So people are operating in this, trying to be right. And so if you're just joining the show, we're talking about kill the need to be right, and how it's affecting us. You know, we all, opinions are like belly buttons. We all got one, right? Even if you got it redone up, put somewhere else. I mean, I'm just saying, we all got one. So it's this is not a fight, you know. And I want to push that love and that harmony. I think you were speaking about that love and that harmony that we're supposed to have for each other. Now it's just grit and grime and want to be right and fighting and it's just harsh. And so if we can get back to that place where, you know, that's not the driving force. So I just want you to have a visual. Have you ever seen somebody smiling when they needed to be right? When they was going back and forth? Like smiling?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Is that a... You know, like, no. If they smile and their eyes getting big, they getting nervous, they shaking and everything because it's not normal. You know, and so you have eyes bulging and hands swaying and people be doing this, women be doing this and all this extra stuff. When they mad, you already know. When they want to be right, it's no. So are you doing all of this stuff? Is it that serious? And just think about, is it necessary? Like at the end and the beginning of the day, I'm just bringing awareness. We're making light of it, but this is a real situation it is affecting a lot of people on different levels. Is it effective? Is it necessary for you to be right all the time? Or can you just be in a space and just listen? Can you just look at a person and just say, oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, like, wow, I never thought about it that way.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then go to something else. We got so much other stuff to talk about. But we gonna just go and drill in on where shoes come from. Like, whatever it is. Like, it's just like, what are we doing? We have so many other things to connect with. Our connection is the most beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Experience. Delicious experience in life. You know that's my word. The most delicious. And we're sitting here arguing over who right or not listening to each other. And so it's just not effective. So talk about a time where you needed to be right and you wasn't listening to understand, but to respond. This is the transparency part. So I need you to think about this.
Probably parenting. And I just felt like, I think I was talking to my son. And at the end of the conversation, he had a very valid point. But in a conversation with him, I was thinking, like, you know, I'm 55 years old, so I have all this experience. And
yeah.
So without knowing all the facts, I was leading, like, you know, I'm right with this. You can't tell me, you know, you just came here. What are you talking about? Right? So when I slowed down and actually listened to my son, I said, well, wow. And I had to tell him, I said, wow, Eric, I said, you got a valid point.
Them kids will get you together now.
It shut me down.
If you listen.
And that's just one area, because I always believe in, we always talking about helping out the community, but to me, it always starts at home. Right? It always starts at home, because you can't go out and heal the whole world, but you can heal your four walls, and then they can go out. Right?
That's the whole truth.
Yep. So mine's Q, Kennedy, it was with my son, and
Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's real good. I've had a lot of opportunities like that.
Yeah, I just knew I was right. Like, man, what are you talking about, right? And he shared, and I had to tell him. I said, "You're right. You got a valid point."
Wow. Can you think of anything just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I can actually think of something that happened earlier today with me.
Okay.
Just being at work and no doubt I was right in the situation, but it wasn't worth ruining the whole day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because it would set the tone. But I was able to catch myself and to redirect, not being right, but just redirect and just start a whole new conversation.
Wow.
Right? And just redirect the energy and save the day, because being right would just upset the whole dynamic of the entire of the area.
Wow.
So so I'm understanding that what's the cost of being right? You have to be able to the cost of being right.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. You have to figure that out. And those
that should have been the title.
Those who win the game will be able to evaluate while they're having that conversation, because you just two different things. You're going in trying to be right, but you got to think about, you got to be able to read the room, read the person you're talking to, and saying, is it worth that relationship? Is it worth this time, really? Because depending on who you might be right to, that person can wreck, even though you're right, and make them feel bad about themselves or take their dignity from them.
Wow.
They can actually hold that and mess you up in the long run.
That's
absolutely
true.
So we have, like I said, the cost of being right. You have to think about that. So that's a dynamic you have to be able to sit down, and while you're, like you say, having a conversation, but also have a separate mind. Is it worth it?
And I like what you just said.
That's true.
The cost to be right. You take somebody's dignity, right?
Right.
But what are we doing here, really? Because that's what happens. You belittle a person, right, and you make them feel less up. Then, So I agree with you, and I like that, and I'm going to take that with me.
That's good. That's real good. Mr. Rod McDory, he said, "Do people that like to be right all the time, do you consider them strongly opinionated?" Well, it depends on what they're talking about, because some people can say it's facts, right? Based off of what they studied. So I feel like my opinion is what I think. So do you guys have anything to say about that? He said, do people that like to be right all the time, do you consider them strongly opinionated?
I would say
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say strongly opinionated.
No.
But I mean, it depends on, like I said, what's your purpose? I mean, if you're just spouting off just to spout off, what's your purpose?
Yeah.
I mean, but that also can come from you have to care about people too. I mean, if you really don't care about the situation, the person, a lot of times you want to be right just to use that
for your own,
to harm someone, to embarrass someone and things of that nature.
Yeah. So that's their intention,
right? And their intention. So, I mean, and just because you're strongly opinionated doesn't mean you have to give it all the time. Right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to, because a lot of times people who are strongly opinionated, they're not receiving as many opinions on themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that part.
And not to knock what the brother put, but I don't want this to get misconstrued with the being right as like 1 + 1 is 2, because that's right, that's correct, and things of that nature. But it's, from what I'm getting from this is you have to be able to evaluate the cost of it, like like even though you're
what's
right,
the purpose?
What's the purpose? Are you trying to hurt somebody, or are you just trying to win the argument, or are you really trying to help someone? Are you really trying to change someone? Are you telling them, giving them information because you're trying to help them?
Yeah.
So that's the person I'm talking about. Just to one up and be, I'm the victor, and the people to pat you on the back. Yeah, you're the person that needs to be right. But if you're trying to help someone, to change someone's life, I mean, it's not that conversation.
That's good. Yeah, that's real good. Hopefully that answered, Mr. Rod. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys. Giving a shout out to those watching on YouTube. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. I think this is very vital for our conversation, for our adult life, because sometimes we have to reparent ourselves. We've been learning things, and everything that we learn is it's not always good, for the time and space that we are in. We grew up, at a different time, a different space a different reality of what was going on. And so there's different things that we have to be aware of. We are in a super sensitive community, and, we have to be mindful of these things. And that's not to, cater to people's sensitivity, but that's just being aware of what we're really dealing with. You have a lot of people that, we don't know what they have going on in their mind, in their heart. People are, taking themselves out left and right. You don't know. And so I just encourage that you be kind and you show that love and compassion the way, we were created. We were created to do, instead of always trying to be right, because you never know, again, depending on the way that you come at a person, how that may affect them. If that'll be the time where they just like, you know what? Well, I'm wrong, and that they may be done. And we're not blaming, we're not pointing the blame game. Just being mindful of the conversations that we have. Why are we having them? What are we doing? What are we saying, and why are we saying it? So that's just taking accountability. It's just self-accountability.
Yes, and I just believe if you're watching the show now, you're getting this information. When you're confronted with a person like this, just slow down in your space and see what it is the person is really trying to tell you. I think people have the need to be, and it's only my opinion, to be right. They're covering up some insecurities, or they just have a very sensitive ego.
Yeah.
And if you slow down and really listen to this person, they may just be reaching out for help in a sense. I'm sorry. So if we just slow this down, and like we said, the cost of it, and ask yourself, why does this person have this strong need to be right here? Right? And really listen to what they're saying. And you just may find yourself saving someone.
That's true.
You just may, because I will say once again, I just think people who have a strong need to be right are really covering up some areas that they don't want to be exposed in.
So I also want to say, just speaking to the need to be right, and you're saying we're in a new age, and not just to be sensitive to people's needs, you need to be sensitive to other people's needs, because even though you may right, it may cost you your health, not just because you may cost you harm and danger. You want to think about that, your safety. Just because sometimes needing to be right and being that person at that time, you may be out and you're having a disagreement. You may be at the game and with someone, and you end up being right, but this person's so angry they may want to harm you.
That's true.
They may want to punch you. They may want to catch you after the game and do things, because that's happened before. They've had situations with sports fans or out at a nightclub, at a bar, and things of that nature. You end up being right, but end up costing you your safety, your health, your life.
Yeah.
So we have to.
That's real talk.
We need to be sensitive to other people's needs, because you don't know what another person is dealing with.
Absolutely.
You don't know what type of mind and space that they're in. Right.
That's true.
And the recent rashes of gun violence and things of that nature
is over the top.
Right. So
ridiculous.
And I wonder how many people actually who may have been harmed or who may have lost their life being right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Just trying to
So you have
push the envelope with how they feel and being passionate about it. And so this is just, again, taking accountability. If you are just joining, make sure you rewind this, go to the beginning. This is some really, really good information. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. So I do have something just to kind of do an accountability test. To see if you are the person that has to be right.
Yes.
You have to.
I'm gonna fail.
You have.
Yes.
Oh, Tink Tink.
Right. Go ahead.
Tink. So.
But I'm learning.
You have to. So no, this is just to start small. So these are signs that you need to be right. This is according to HarleyTherapy.com. Do you interrupt or talk over others? This is a question. Follow someone else's story with your story. That means you wasn't listening. Mm-hmm. Always get the last word. Yeah, and another thing. Often say yes, but. Right? Tell people flat out, you're wrong. This is how it is. Tend to do everything yourself as you do not trust others. So if you see yourself in these things that I just explained, you have the need to be right.
Wow, that's pretty strong because I'm like, man, I may have did that in the past. I think people listening probably say, 2 out of 3.
This is not to judge yourself. This is just
growth.
Accountability.
Evaluation.
They go right there.
You know how they do that at the job, right? Every so often.
It's self-evaluation. It's a self-check is what it is.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're really
That is
honest, it's a self-check. I mean, you can defend yourself. I'm not like that, but you hear it and you know who you are.
Hey.
Yep.
You know who you are.
Right there.
And that's all that matters. You see, ain't nobody answer, right? I could have said yes to all these maybe about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely. Interrupt, like, no, they, and like while they talking, or somebody say a story, you like, yeah, because when I did this and that, and you just took over their whole story, or like all that. Yeah, no.
I like the but though. That but.
Yeah, but.
Because but negates everything you said prior to
Everything.
Everything.
You know it.
Everything.
You know it, brother. Give me some.
But.
So Rod said it's just facts. Some people don't like to be wrong. How do you deal with the person who don't like to be wrong and they think they're right all the time? You say, oh, okay.
That right there.
Oh, that's what's up. Oh, that's a different way of looking at it. This is for Rod. There's just a few things you can just say. Who cares? At this point, everybody is on their own journey and they're going to have to come up against this at their own time. Hopefully it's sooner than later. And so we can't expect people to be where we are. That's why that's what takes away from the judgment. You have to know everybody's not in the same space. We are all in different spaces on this journey, and we must take that into account when we're having different conversations with different people. They at different levels in their mind and their heart, where they are. They may be holding unforgiveness. They may be angry. It's so many other dynamics to why people do what they do. And so if I see people that are out of control, or they're very hostile, or they all over the place, that has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And if you step a toenail into their space, that's on you.
Yes.
That's it. That's how I feel.
I switched it up, brother's question that he had.
Okay.
Could you read that again? He said about how do you deal with...
He said it's just facts. It's the same person. Some people don't like to be wrong. How do you deal with the person who don't like to be wrong and they think they're right all the time?
Right. At the very end, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, because some people operate in that type of energy where they know they have to be right because they're looking for someone to come up against them because that's the only way they know how to operate. That's their best way, their best them.
Okay.
So how do you deal with something like that? The perfect thing is if it's a person who has to be right all the time, yes, okay, and move on. Do not give them that energy back. Because that's what they're looking from. To me, that sounds like a person.
It's like fuel,
right? It's looking for it because, like, let's go. Because this is how I operate. This is I operate best in this space.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you want to get in it, they're gonna take you to that arena, and if they operate best in that space, you're gonna lose every time. So why fight the battle? Right? It's not
if you
about.
Know that's how
right.
they are.
So take them to where you operate best. If you operate in peace, bring them your space. Okay. There you go.
You said bring them in your peace.
Bring them in your space.
That's how you operate. That's good.
Right. Right. No, and then when they come back in your space, I didn't approach you. I don't handle that way.
I ain't doing that. I'm good.
Right.
We good.
Because they're looking for the energy, and you'll see that person kind of walking around trying to search people to get that energy.
Wow.
You'll recognize that person. It's that person, like they say, that's in the office. That's always kind of like into or that child or that person in the household. Okay. Hopefully. But that takes training. You have to train yourself, right?
No, I agree with you.
That takes training, but you have to tell yourself, hey, when they come back, because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. These people you can identify. You can identify these people.
If you notice
so that person you're thinking about right now that's always into with somebody, you know that person. So when that person come your way, you just either move to the side or when they take in what they're going to give them and okay. And that's peace. Right. Would you rather be right or happy? Ooh. I think, and after this conversation, I'm going to say all the way happy.
I'd rather be happy.
Period.
Happy.
I'd rather be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm straight. I ain't got nothing to prove to nobody.
Nope.
Because happy people very rarely get hurt, or happy people very rarely, lose everything. You know what I mean? Because they're happy. But right people, hey, there's a cost. Yeah, because there's a cost to being right. You have to think about it.
There is a cost.
It's a cost. So, yeah, I'd rather be happy long as I get it right with my decision making. That's all that matters in my world. Really.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning. So, with much so of this platform is, I think it's about.
Yeah.
So, the way I look at it, and I agree with you 100%, what do you have to gain from being right? I just want to be happy. So I can be in this conversation and I can shut it down and be like, you know what, you make a valid point. Where are you going with that? I just agree with you.
And they're going to say, I'm just saying.
You made a valid point. Yeah, I totally understand that's a valid point because at that point I didn't have enough. So I'm like, you've made a valid point. You made a valid point. Now, I'm not going to say I agree with you and I don't, but I may say you make a valid point.
Yeah.
And that will shut down that need to be right at that point because they'd be like, success, I did what I need to do at this point. And then moving on from dealing with, I think, work relationships are very, very strong. You made a point. Kenny, you said something earlier. You can see it coming. So you got that one person on the line, and they always got something going on. And you want
we all at the plant, so
exit left, right? But they always want to seem to bring it to you because you're the only one that hadn't taken to that level. And like you said, they do it so well. And you just know you're going to lose with this situation, right? Because I'm not trying to share that information. I mean, that energy. So what do you do at that point?
Yeah.
What do you do at this point? That's my question. What do you do?
So I've been sucked into the foolishness before. And it took me somewhere I didn't want to be, and I'm usually so good with this. And I'm minding my business. I ain't bothering nobody. And this person just kept picking and saying stuff. I turned around and I stepped over to them to engage. That was the worst thing I could have done. Because they wanted to be right. And it was their need to be right. It had nothing to do with me. Again, when you're dealing with these type of people, and this goes back to Rod, what you were asking, when you're dealing with people that need to be right and you know it because they just keep going, no matter what you say, no matter what you bring or the information you bring, let them have it. Let them have it. And just be like, I got you. That's it. It's cool. I'm done. Because you would leave with that energy in your heart, in your mental space. You'll be going back thinking about, different things you could have said or would have said and why I ain't saying all that. When I thought about all of this, even preparing for this, I thought about Proverbs 3, 5 and 6. Lean not on your own trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not into thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him and he shall direct your path. And that's the King James Version. Listen,
All right.
if we can lead with that and we operate out of that place where we constantly getting this download and we're constantly being divine beings that we are, we'll be able to operate. We'll be able to see stuff a mile away before it even comes. But if we're operating out of this flesh and just this natural realm, we'll be going back and forth, Venus and Serena and my opinion, your opinion, it ain't how it is all day long. Like, it's just, we got so much more to talk about, so much more to share, with each other at work, especially. Like, it's a lot of people that, in that environment that we can inspire, talk to on a different level. So while we're closing up, we got 5 more minutes if you guys want to just say your last, words. And I hope, if you're listening, I hope you got something. I see you guys. Shout out to everybody's watching on YouTube. And make sure you share this with your family and friends. Make sure you like and subscribe if it's something that you hear that you like. Make sure you come every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. You're gonna get some good stuff. Some motivation, some encouragement, information, some empowerment, some good vibes, all that. I
would have one thing to say first. I'm going to make it real quick. like we said earlier, do a self-evaluation if you have any of these traits in you. And watch the energy, what you're taking in and what you're saying, because I see a lot of this on social media. Everybody needs to be right.
Yeah.
So subconsciously, you could become a victim of that also. So watch that, what you're letting into your eye gates and your ear gates, and do some self-evaluation and start at home so we can help our children out. And that's just what I would like to add.
I agree. I agree. Kennedy?
Well, I like to say, well, so if you want to change the need to be right, if this is kill the need to be right? That's what we're talking about. You have to change your mindset. Right? And the mindset, people talk about, I hear a lot of things, people talk about mindset, but to change your mindset, you have to retrain your mind. So you want to maybe new books, different types of music, change your environment, things of that nature is what you want to do if you want to change your mindset, if you want to kill the need to be right. But I've always thought, and this reminds me of a quote that says, I stopped explaining myself when I realized people can only understand to their level of perception. Or perspective. You know what I mean? So so even though you're right, and you're speaking English, and they're speaking Spanish.
Right.
You know what I mean? You could be right, and it's like even though you're right, they may not even understand. So it's a waste of energy. It's a waste of space.
That's true. So he's saying change your mindset. All right, and all right. So I want to leave you guys with one more scripture before we end this evening. Again, I thank you guys so much for joining. Every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, you can meet me here. Colossians 4:56. This is the ESV version. Walk in wisdom toward outsiders. Make the best use of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. Again, that's Colossians 4:56, and that's the ESV version. So just take accountability, again, for your need to be right. If this is you, if you found yourself in this is not to bash you. This is not for you to feel bad. This is not for you to say, oh, my God. No. We're just taking accountability. We're moving forward. It is a new year. It's 2023. Again, it's all about mindset. So it's no pressure. It's just accountability and just doing that on purpose. So I thank you guys so much for joining. And meet me here next week, same time. Guess what? I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. Peace.